The atmosphere, economic power, and the impact on the masses make the UEFA Champions League one of the biggest football competitions in the world, second only to the World Cup. Typically, a few well-established teams tend to clinch the title, and even if smaller budget teams like Ajax reach the semifinals, we often refer to their success as a fairy tale. The players from these teams are usually snapped up by larger clubs, making it difficult for such success to be repeated. In the last 20 years, the only team to achieve this feat was Jose Mourinho's Porto in 2004. Many of you are likely familiar with Porto's accomplishment. Today, I will share information about lesser-known smaller teams that have won the Champions League, excluding Porto. Before we delve into the list, if you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to subscribe to join our community. Subscribing only takes a few seconds. Now, let's explore 7 teams that you may find it hard to believe won the Champions League or that their victories are not widely known. Enjoy watching. Celtic, with a rich history spanning approximately 135 years, is one of the 2 Scottish teams with the most league championships, boasting 52 titles. Faced with a 12-year championship drought from 1954 to 1965, Celtic laid the foundations for a new era under the management of Jock Stein. In the 1965 to 1966 season, they clinched the championship, earning the right to compete in the European Cup, now the Champions League. Having been unable to participate in the early years of the Champions League due to their prolonged title absence, they managed to win the competition in their debut season. In addition to the Champions League, they achieved a remarkable 5-5 by winning the Scottish League, Scottish Cup, Scottish League Cup, and the Glasgow Cup in that season. Following their Champions League triumph, they imposed a 7-year embargo on the league, securing 9 consecutive league titles. Steaua Bucharest, the most successful team in Romania, experienced its first European Cup triumph in the 1986 season. Following this success, the Bucharest-based team also won the UEFA Super Cup and secured the Romanian League title. These 2 European Cup victories remain the only European trophies that have made their way to Romania. However, in recent times, the relationship between the Romanian authorities and Steaua Bucharest has become quite strained. The club has faced significant challenges due to the copyright ownership of the term Steaua belonging to the military. The Romanian Ministry of National Defense had filed a compensation lawsuit of €40 million at that time, leading to difficult times for the club. Since those legal proceedings in 2014, Steaua Bucharest has been unable to secure a league championship, marking the end of its former glory days. If I were to ask about the 2 biggest teams in the Netherlands, most of you would probably immediately mention Ajax and PSV Eindhoven. This is normal because these 2 teams are the most successful in the country, having won the most championships. However, when we look at the number of European trophies for these teams, Ajax has 4 Champions League titles, 1 UEFA Cup, and 3 UEFA Super Cup victories. On the other hand, PSV has 1 Champions League title and 1 UEFA Cup but lacks a UEFA Super Cup triumph. In addition to these 2 teams, there is another team in the Netherlands that has brought a UEFA trophy to the country, Feyenoord. Feyenoord, which enjoyed its best days in 1970, earned the right to participate in the Champions League after winning the league the previous season. Under the management of Austrian coach Ernst Happel, they managed to bring the Champions League trophy to their museum 4 years later. This victory marked the first Champions League title for the Netherlands and the beginning of an era. The early 1970s witnessed the dominance of Dutch teams. Following Feyenoord's success, Ajax became Champions League champions for 3 consecutive years. In addition to this achievement, Feyenoord won a UEFA Cup in 1974 and another in 2002. It's worth mentioning that, while one of the giants, PSV, has 2 European Cup titles, Feyenoord boasts 3 European Cup victories. I wanted to highlight this as well. Earlier, when discussing Feyenoord's success, I mentioned Ernst Happel's role. After leading Feyenoord to its finest moments, Ernst Happel went to Germany to win the hearts of Hamburg fans. First, he won the German league title, taking the club to the Champions League. Subsequently, he brought the Champions League trophy to Germany. Following this remarkable success, Ernst Happel stayed at the helm of Hamburg for another 4 years before departing in 1987. Unfortunately, after Ernst Happel's departure, Hamburg fans did not experience further joy. The last trophy won by Hamburg, the German Cup in 1987, marked their final triumph. As you might predict, Ernst Happel was the coach who led them to this victory. Since those days, not only have they been unable to win any trophies, but they have also struggled to remain in the top league. Relegated in 2018, Hamburg has been unable to secure promotion to the Bundesliga. Aston Villa, currently considered a mid-table team in England, is one of the teams that has won the UEFA Champions League. They secured the Champions League trophy in the 1981-1982 season, a year before Hamburg. However, like Hamburg, their story ended with a tinge of sadness, as this triumph could not be repeated. In that same year, Aston Villa also won the UEFA Super Cup. Over the past 35 years, they have only won 2 trophies, both of which are the England Cup, known today as the Carabao Cup. In fact, there was a time when Aston Villa faced even more challenging circumstances. They had dropped down to the England Championship. However, they managed to regroup and successfully rejoin the Premier League. Nevertheless, in the present day, it seems nearly impossible for them to be one of the 4 teams to qualify for the Champions League. Once again, we continue our video with a team that represented England and brought the UEFA Champions League trophy to their museum. I mentioned at the beginning of our video that these might be surprising teams, but you might not be surprised by Nottingham Forest, as it's a well-known story. Usually, you might come across it on social media or when watching a match related to Nottingham or reading news. Despite being a well-known story, I wanted to include it because Nottingham Forest is a team that, unlike the other 6 teams on the list, has won this trophy twice. The success of smaller budget teams in winning this trophy always lies under the guidance of a successful coach. In 1975, English coach Brian Clough took charge of the club and, within a short period of 3 years, built a team that would be crowned champions of the English League. After securing the league title, the team, making their debut in the Champions League, clinched the trophy in their first appearance in the competition. Although they couldn't win the English League for the second time, they earned the right to participate again due to being the previous season's Champions League winners. The defending champions, Nottingham Forest, managed to bring the trophy to their museum in their second Champions League appearance as well, capturing the attention of all of Europe. Despite receiving numerous offers, Brian Clough insisted on staying, and the story continued for another 18 years. Although they couldn't achieve significant success after 1980, except for 2 Carabao Cup victories, Nottingham Forest became one of England's respected clubs. However, the 1990s were disastrous for Nottingham. The legendary coach Brian Clough resigned after relegation in 1993 and never coached again. Although Nottingham Forest managed to return to the Premier League, they were far from their glory days. After relegating again in 1999, the club couldn't regain promotion to the Premier League until 2022. 2 years before the dissolution of Yugoslavia, in 1990, Red Star Belgrade represented Yugoslavia in the UEFA Champions League and emerged as the champions of Europe. Winning the trophy in 1991, Red Star Belgrade achieved what Porto would later do in 2004. At that time, they were not considered favorites, and the prospect of a champion emerging from Yugoslavia was not seen as likely. They eliminated Grasshoppers, Rangers, Dynamo Dresden, and Bayern Munich to reach the final. In the final, they defeated the reigning French champions Marseille in a penalty shootout, securing the trophy. After those glorious days, no Champions League champion emerged from the Balkans again. Yes, the teams that surprised me by winning the Champions League were like this. Almost 20 years have passed since Porto's triumph, and no team has been able to achieve it since. It's very difficult, even considered impossible by some, but I hope that one day this fairy tale will happen for other low-budget teams as well. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Goodbye.